So, in this episode, I'll be talking about setting intentional goals for the whole family that I believe will change the course of how things will flow within your household. It will affect your peace of mind and bring that sense of togetherness in your family unit.
Parenthood is challenging enough as it is, and getting organized sounds easier said than done. Now, combine these two together, and it's truly a balancing act that many of us struggle with day in, day out. If you're here, it's because you want to know how to get your life and home more organized and structured where the kids are involved too, so that parent life is a little easier and you can focus on what truly matters. Hey there, I'm Dianne Jimenez, owner and founder of One Tidy Place. I created this podcast because I know parents have their hands full. I know this because I have 3 kids of my own. Each week, we'll talk about all things organizing, teaching kids life skills, and contributing to the home, being on the same page with your partner, and raising your kids together while you tidy up, go out for a walk, or just need some real talk. I'm here for you. Thank you for tuning in. Are you ready? Let's do this.
In my last episode, I talked about resetting our personal routines and infusing it into our schedule so that we're not stumped by overwhelm or fall off the path after a week or two. So it got me thinking, everyone sets goals for themselves at this time of year. Whether they follow through with them or not is another story. Unless you follow the steps I laid out for you the other week, then you should be good to go, right? Now, if you've been a follower of my content, you know I don't just talk about our own parent stuff, right? The other part and the reason why we're parents is because we have kids. So in this episode, I'll be talking about setting intentional goals for the whole family. More specifically, being really intentional about this one thing that I believe will change the course of how things will flow within your household. It will affect your peace of mind and bring that sense of togetherness in your family unit. Sounds good? Great. But first, welcome to another episode of the Organized-ish Parent Podcast. I'm your host, Dianne Jimenez. I help parents like you reclaim your time by getting organized and empowering the kids to help out too. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get to it. Okay, so back to setting that one goal for the whole family that will change the course of how things will flow in your home. How doing this one thing will help your mental load and bring everyone together and on the same page. All right, let me paint a picture for you. Oftentimes, with the busyness of life, homework, housework, work, activities, play dates, competitions, projects, family events, social life, it always feels so rushed for weeks on end. And during these rushed times, as parents, we're basically just trying to survive week by week. Every so often, things get forgotten, whether it's an assignment, a form to hand in, or your turn to supply snacks for the team, or things get left to the wayside like housework. So it's not uncommon for the house to look untidy when we're in the thick of it. It's also not uncommon to stay up later at night or wake up before everyone else to reset the various spaces, bake a dozen cookies for the next day, or get some light reading when your body just wants to sleep. Before you know it, the day starts and you're repeating the same pattern day after day, more often than you can count, and waiting for a break from it all, just to catch your breath and get some R&R for your brain. There's a lot going on up there on top of childcare. From handling returns to sending out emails to meeting with teachers, birthdays and parties and booking appointments, from organizing playdates and noticing holes in most, if not all, of your kids' jogging pants to discovering old snacks at the bottom of their school bag. All while trying to maintain our own personal goals in the mix. It's crazy. So if you feel a little bit or a tiny bit stressed, that's okay. You're not alone. In fact, let's do less of that, being and feeling like we're alone running this ship, because really, you're not, and intentionally including everyone else. How? By checking in as a group. This way, it's all out there in one go. Now, you might be thinking, but Dianne, I already do this on the go. When I see my kid or my spouse, I talk to them about whatever I need or ask them how their day went. I hear you, and I do the same thing too. And I don't know about you, but more often than not, I'll get 1 or 2 word answers from my kids whenever I asked, "How was your day?" I don't know. My kids were chatterboxes as toddlers, and now it's zip. Unless it's time to go to bed, then they're about talking about the meaning of life. So, there are a number of reasons why checking in as a group is a good idea if you've thought about doing this but never got around to doing it, or if you occasionally do this, but it often gets left to the wayside. I'm like this too, so you're not alone. If you're thinking it, yeah, I'm laying this out for me too. So, Onig, when you're listening to this episode, it's part of the family goals I want to instill this year, okay? Friends will let you know all how it goes in the next few months, all right? Now, remember how I just mentioned that on the go conversation about us asking our kids or our spouse about their day or telling them what we need from them? Well, another reason why we should check in as a group is that it's an opportunity, albeit a teaching opportunity too, for a sneak peek into what's going on in our world, what's going on with us, what's on our plate, etc. This type of stuff usually is between the parents, but I also think it's kind of good for the kids to be exposed to this stuff too. Not to scare them or overwhelm them, but essentially grow their awareness that, and I'm going to use moms here because I'm a mom, but that mom has a lot going on too, so that you, the kids, can get to your activities on time, have snacks ready for you, and have the clothes that you need when you need them, etc. Now, be mindful too and read the room because depending on your kids, they might not be ready for all that information, especially on the first few group check-ins. Ease in it little by little. Okay, so let's keep going. What I'm getting at with all of this is to encourage you to have an actual sit-down conversation where everyone is there, calm and attentive, and no one is rushing to get to the next activity in the next 5 minutes. Ideally, this would be around the dinner table or breakfast table. Whatever it is, but it's essentially that everyone is together. Look, I get it. Sometimes one parent has to work or has other commitments in the evenings. We're one of those families too, so we try our best to have it where both parents are there at the same time. So for us, Sundays or Tuesdays work best because that's when everyone is typically home at the same time. Instead of all the organizing, planning, figuring things out, and then telling specific people what's going on one by one, include everyone so that everyone is in the know. So, how do we do this? One way to start is to ask about what they need. For instance, I'll ask the kids what they need or if they're missing anything for school. For example, school projects and presentations that are due. Do they need posters? Do they need images? Do they need whatever it is they need? This usually gets them to open up about what they're struggling with. So, for example, one of my kids gets super anxious and overwhelmed when he has more than 2 things due. So, we'll have to take some time after to plan and organize his assignments and his emotions. Another example is sometimes they don't fully understand the concept of their assignments or are struggling to get their idea across. So just by asking one thing can open up so many other conversations for you. If they're not needing anything for school, the next topic is usually clothing. With the rate they're growing and how fast the weeks are flying by, yeah, we sometimes are behind in getting them bigger boots, snowsuits, or extra jogging pants because they all have holes at the knees or crotch area. So I usually tend to go from one kid to the next and sometimes have to pull out a Post-it and take notes or just ask Google to add items to the shopping list for Onig's next Costco run. So speaking of needs, this is also the perfect time to let them know of the things that you need, right? Checking in as a group is all about getting everyone on the same page, and that, my friend, includes you. So why not let them know all the things you need from them? For example, reminding them of household tasks that need to get done or that it's been lagging, asking for help with folding, It's a great time to also remind them that they need to empty their lunch bags and put them back in their spot every single day after school. A big one we're working on is being consistent about tidying up the living room after spending some time there so laundry can be folded at night, or that Onig and I can enjoy the space too after they go to bed. This is also a good time if your kids are old enough and capable. You can assign them a task or two depending on your kids' abilities, like what they need to have ready or to do before their next activity. For instance, ask them to do the writing portion of their homework before practice, and they can do the reading portion while they're waiting at the ice rink or for their turn in the shower at night. A last example is clearing out the kitchen table every night so there's space to do homework right after school the next day. I know you have a list of things to do, so be specific and clear on your requests, okay? I've read and have also tested this out with not just my kids, but with other kids too, that if you tell them why in a way that's concise and logical, they're far more likely to help out for the bigger cause. Okay, so let's move on. Another strategy to get everyone in the know, but also help with your mental load, getting everyone on the same page and bringing the family closer, is to ask everyone to describe their week in at least 2 words and then following up with these words. Why is that? You'll be surprised on the answers that you will get, and keep asking this until you have a full description of their week, or they say more than "I don't know," or that everything has gone off topic. You decide when to stop, but keep asking if you're not getting things out of them. Again, don't forget about you. Include how your week was. This is where growing their awareness comes in. Teaching kids is also giving them some insight of what parent life is like. We have feelings too. We have things we have to put on hold so that the kids can experience X, Y, Z. We also have moments of joy and pride that don't always include or involve being a mom either. So they need to see and hear that too. You have so many more facets about you that make you uniquely you, and it's beautiful. Okay, so now that you got the 411 of the past week or so done, the final step is to give a run through or the what's coming up in the next week or two, max. I say max too because after that, it's too far off. So let's focus on the present, okay? So this run through entails their activities, games, meetings, play dates, pickup times, forms to hand in, etc. Anything that's happening in the next week or so for all members around the table, it's important to let it out now. This is huge in planting those seeds of awareness or building upon it if your kids are tuned in to the goings on of the household. Goings on, going on, whatever's going on in the household and your kids are in tune to that, this is good to do. So just to emphasize on the importance of having these allocated intentional family meetings, if you want to call it that, but checking in also allows you to anticipate or avoid any surprises like, oh, mom, I need 24 cookies by tomorrow. Those type of situations. Or running out of lead for the upcoming exams, which actually happened to us last week. Now, when it comes to avoiding surprises, the other month, Kenzo, my youngest, forgot to give me a paper describing the end-of-year party they were having back in December after all their class presentations were done. So the night before, he came up to me and asked if I was taking him to school to help him with carrying all his presentation materials the next day and his food contribution for the party afterwards. I'm like, what? Yeah. So check-ins are super beneficial to avoid any surprises, misunderstandings, and midnight errands. Now, remember how I said earlier that this is something that I'm working on with my family? Well, I think to help me with remembering to have these check-ins is to place a sticky note somewhere where I'm sure I will see it while we're eating, like on our art wall or even on a napkin holder. So take that as a bonus strategy to remind yourself to have these check-in conversations every week or two. But I think weekly is a lot easier than bi-weekly. It's just a lot easier to remember because it's happening every week. So we're coming to the end of the episode, but not without some marching orders for you. Here is your task. Next family dinner, have a group check-in. Step 1, ask what they need for school, clothes, their activities, and don't forget to tell them what you need. Be specific and clear. I need all the garbage collected before garbage day, not just one garbage in the kitchen. Step number 2, in more than 2 words, describe how the last week was. Then add the words, why is that? Keep asking until you're satisfied. And don't forget to tell them about your week, your wins, your losses, the scary moments, etc. Let them know what's going on with you. Step number 3, go over what the next week or so looks like. The activities, the competitions, the practices, the appointments, pickups, drop-offs, who's going with whom. All right? If you need to grab a physical calendar with everything marked out so everyone sees what's going on for the next week, do it. Kids are more visual, so take advantage of that. Now repeat this every week and bake it into your family routine. This will ensure everyone is on the same page, and that means less on your mental load to manage and be the reminder for everyone. Now, if your kids are younger, you can still do this with less emphasis on the tasks, but encouraging conversation and listening to one another. This is a great habit to instill. Years from now, they'll be in the habit of checking in and including you in their thoughts and plans. How cool is that? So remember, it starts with you, and being consistent about it will make all the difference month after month, year after year. Okay, I feel I've been going on and on about this, but the point is for you to feel less alone in this whole journey and have this heavy mental weight up here. I also want to point out that this isn't to dump everything on others, complain, or to pass the buck. No, I know that's not your intention at all. But my hope is that it creates awareness with the people around you who need and love you the most. So them being aware of all that you do, have to think about, prepare for, in turn grows their awareness and hopefully gets them to look outside of their own bubble. It might not be an instant thought, but as they grow and these check-ins become part of your household's natural routine, these conversations will stick. Their thoughts will turn into compassion, understanding, openness, patience, and eventually take action by helping and contributing to the home. So the more you do this, the more you get to that point, right? It'll take some time, maybe even sooner than you think, but having these open forum type discussions will certainly promote communication, conversation, and connection, especially in a supportive environment. All right, my friend, I hope you got some great takeaways from today's episode, and I hope you apply them at home with your family. Now, if you like this episode, please let me know by writing a 5-star review. I'd appreciate it so much, as it would help boost my show up and get more eyeballs on it. You never know, there may be a parent out there who could use some of these tips to help them in their parenting journey. Oh, and don't forget, if you're not yet a member of my free Facebook community for busy parents who want to get organized, join the group. I'll link it in the show notes, but you can find the group on Facebook. It's a similar name to my podcast. It's called the Organized-ish Parent Collective. We're waiting for you there. All right, see you next time, and bye-bye.